Welcome, everyone. Ready to dive deep into Lead to Win? This one's by Carla Harris.
Oh, I love her perspective. Decades on Wall Street. She's an investment banker.
Right, seen it all firsthand. What really makes leaders tick, succeed, or honestly totally flop?
Exactly. What makes Carla's take so interesting is it's not just theory from a textbook.
Real-world leaders.
Tons of CEOs, every industry you can imagine. That gives her such a practical edge.
Let's jump in, shall we?
Yeah.
The book really highlights this shift in leadership, right?
Oh, definitely.
It's not my way or the highway anymore.
Not at all. It's like this whole new era.
Yeah.
Carla argues millennials and Gen Z coming into the workforce, they're changing the game.
Expect something totally different.
Absolutely. More collaboration, empathy, transparency from their leaders. It's a must-have.
And I've seen this myself. If you're not authentic, especially when things get tough, people see right through it.
Credibility, gone.
Poof.
Carla tells the story so powerful. A CEO during the pandemic struggling, his whole career was built on this persona.
Fake it till you make it.
Exactly. Suddenly, genuine connection was needed, and he just couldn't make the switch.
Oh, that's rough. So, for those of us, wanting to be great leaders now, where do we even begin?
Well, Carla's clear. Trust. It's the foundation. Got to build that trust with your team, especially when innovation is key.
Like Riley, right? There's that anecdote where she makes those 4 promises to her team. Accountability, trust, the whole package.
That one promise, it's brilliant. Shielding her team from blame when delivering tough news.
Sets the tone immediately.
Totally. Honesty, transparency, even when things go wrong, it's safe.
Transparency. It's so powerful, especially in a crisis.
Think about Johnson & Johnson, the Tylenol situation. Immediate transparency, pulled the product, replacements offered.
Wow.
Customer safety first, no question.
Strengthened their brand in the end, didn't it?
100%. Decisive action, clear communication, a crisis handled well.
Makes all the difference. Clarity, too, right? Even when things are uncertain, you've got to have that.
Carla's big on that. Even if every detail isn't nailed down, leaders need to decide. Communicate clearly.
Do you have direction?
There's that example, this leader pushing for change, facing pushback initially. Clarity, decisiveness, let the team move forward.
Even with some unknowns. So we got trust, clarity. What else is essential for leading today?
Nurturing. Leaders have got to nurture other leaders. It's not just about tasks, it's about potential.
Amplifying your impact by creating more leaders. I like that.
Exactly. It's recognizing potential, advocating for those who might not fit the old leadership mold.
Like Daniel with Sunil, right? Others questioned his presence, whatever that means, but Daniel saw his potential.
Championed his growth, benefited the whole organization, and of course we can't forget about DEI.
Huge topic.
For Carla, it's not a box to tick, it's strategic. Drive success makes organizations stronger.
She has that analogy, right?
The pie analogy, it's not about making the pie smaller, it's expanding it. Opportunities, benefits for everyone.
More talent, diverse perspectives, better decisions.
Leads to a more successful organization, period. But actions matter more than words.
Show, don't tell.
Exactly. Building diverse teams, inclusion, developing underrepresented talent. That's how leaders show commitment.
And it can't be. Like on again, off again.
Especially not during tough times. Consistent investment in DEI, even when things are challenging, that's how you win.
Okay, so we've talked about authenticity, trust, clarity, developing other leaders, embracing DEI. What else should we be thinking about as leaders in this new landscape?
Well, Carla also reminds us, leaders need to be comfortable taking risks.
But not just any risk, right?
No. Strategic risks.
Yeah.
She talks about 3 types. Calculated, studied, and what she calls step out on faith.
Okay, unpack those for us.
So calculated risk, you've done your homework. Upsides, downsides, you've weighed them, you're confident.
Like Allison, talking to her client's counterpart before the big presentation. Not official channels, but smart.
She took a calculated risk, got those insights, helped her team land a huge contract.
What about studied risk?
You might not have all the information up front, but you commit to researching, analyzing, gathering that data before deciding.
Mitigation through preparation.
I like it. Then there's step out on faith risk. This one takes guts.
This sounds intense.
It is. It's going beyond comfort zones, maybe defying conventional wisdom because you believe in something, even if you can't totally measure the outcome.
Carla has that story right, the naked short strategy early in her career.
Exactly. She didn't fully get it at the time, but she took the leap. Learned a ton, navigated the consequences.
It's about trusting your gut, but also being ready to learn and adapt.
100%. And she makes this great point. The more you succeed, the more you learn from past risks, the more confident you become taking future risks.
Like building a risk muscle.
Exactly. And in today's world, things change so fast, you can't afford to be stuck.
Makes sense. Okay, so we've talked about risk-taking. Let's move on to another crucial skill. How do you assess talent?
Carla, being an investor, this is where she shines. It's about getting the right team. Skills need to align with your future strategies, especially when things move fast.
You're not just looking for people who are great now, but those who can grow. Adapt to what's coming.
She talks about hiring for leadership potential, specific questions to ask, to gauge their growth mindset. Can they learn?
Like, what do you need to thrive here? Or what really drives you?
Exactly. Those questions tell you a lot about someone's drive, how resourceful they are, do they fit your values?
And she cautions against micromanaging hiring.
That story about the CEO who insisted on approving every single resume
What a nightmare.
slowed everything down. Trust your team, empower them. You can't do it all yourself.
So true. We've covered a lot, how leadership's changing, the importance of trust, clarity, nurturing other leaders, embracing DEI, taking smart risks, knowing how to assess talent. But even with all this knowledge, leaders can still make mistakes.
Oh, absolutely. And that's why Carla has this whole chapter on leadership blind spots.
So valuable. Because even the best leaders have areas where they need to grow.
No one's perfect.
Let's break down those blind spots. What are some of the big ones?
The first one she mentions is not fully leveraging the diverse talents you already have. Gillian, the lobbyist, and Greg, the lawyer.
Their skills weren't being used.
Right. Their bosses didn't see how those unique skills could benefit everyone.
It's looking beyond job titles, seeing everyone's strengths, what they bring to the table.
Exactly. Sometimes it's not just about using existing talent, it's about making changes when someone isn't the right fit anymore.
It's got to be hard.
It is. Even Carla admits she struggles with this. Letting go of people she's worked with for a long time, it's tough.
She talks about her upbringing, right? Loyalty is huge.
But she learned, sometimes, the needs of the team, the business come first. Tough decisions are part of leadership.
So making those personnel changes is a blind spot to watch out for.
For sure. Another one is not innovating, not adapting to change.
Like those companies we mentioned, Polaroid, Blockbuster, they just didn't keep up.
Cautionary tales. Leaders have got to question everything, see trends coming, make bold moves.
It's about that growth mindset.
Yeah.
Not just for you, but for the whole organization.
Absolutely. And finally, one of the most common blind spots, not delegating effectively, not empowering others.
Simoon, right. She couldn't let go of control.
Team dysfunction, no progress. You have to know your limits, trust your team, give them space to shine.
Do it all myself versus let's do this together. Big difference.
That's leadership in the 21st century.
This has been amazing. So much insight from Carla Harris's Lead to Win. Before we go any further, what do you think the book's main message is? What should our listeners really take away from this?
Well, we've talked about a lot, but it really comes down to this. Leadership is about authenticity, building trust, being clear, nurturing other leaders, and embracing DEI. It's about making decisions, taking those smart risks, knowing how to pick the right people, and seeing your own blind spots.
And Carla makes a great point. Leadership isn't about the title. It's a way of being.
Exactly. You can lead from anywhere, at any level. It's about taking charge, being proactive, and always learning.
Which brings us to part 2 of our deep dive.
One thing that really struck me about Lead to Win is how practical it is. It's not just like big ideas, it's packed with advice you can actually use. Real stories, anyone can relate to it.
Oh, totally. Like her guidance on managing up. So smart.
It's brilliant.
Understanding your boss's goals, their priorities, and figuring out how to help them get there.
It's not waiting around, taking initiative, anticipating what your boss needs before they even say it.
And communicating well, right. Being clear, concise when you're presenting ideas or giving updates.
Oh, absolutely. And Carla emphasizes it's not just what you say, it's how you say it.
Delivery matters.
Big time. Respectful, confident, enthusiastic. It all affects how your message lands.
She has this phrase, I love it, training people how to think about you.
Oh, that's good.
It's about consistently showing the qualities, the behaviors you want people to associate with you.
So if you want to be seen as a strategic thinker, you can't just focus on the day-to-day.
Got to bring those insights.
Offer solutions, perspectives. That's how you shape people's perceptions. And this goes beyond your boss to your whole network.
Relationships are everything.
Carla talks about nurturing those connections.
Yeah.
above, below, across the organization, even outside your company.
Networking, basically.
Exactly. Connecting authentically, showing genuine interest in people, being willing to help.
She even suggests this, like, unique way to build relationships with board members, for example.
You're thinking about her friend who schedules two 45-minute meetings.
That's the one. First meeting,
Yeah.
all about getting to know the person, their story, their philosophy.
I love that.
So smart. By investing that time up front, building a personal connection, those board interactions become so much more productive later on.
It's about remembering there's a human being there, even in a professional setting.
We've talked about leading up, across. What about leading down? What does Carla say for those who, get thrown into leadership roles unexpectedly?
She acknowledges it happens a lot. Maybe there's a crisis or a sudden change at the top,
And she's noticed something interesting. It often happens to women, people of color.
especially during those turbulent times. They get tapped for leadership.
So be ready.
Exactly. And when that opportunity comes, be intentional. Prepare yourself.
Okay, so you're in the leadership seat. What's next?
Carla says establish those priorities, set clear expectations, and fast.
Don't waste time.
Empower your team from day one. Give them autonomy, support, let them know you trust them to succeed.
And listen. Really listen.
To their strengths, their motivations, their concerns, build that trust, that collaboration,
She also talks about seeking honest feedback.
even when it's not all rainbows and sunshine.
She tells the story, right,
Yeah.
about a CEO who realized his team was afraid to tell him bad news.
Or challenge his ideas.
He had to create an environment where people felt safe to speak up, even disagree.
If you don't know about a problem, you can't fix it.
So true. Open, honest feedback, essential for good decision-making.
It all comes back to trust. If people don't trust you to hear the truth, they won't tell you.
Okay, we've looked at leading upwards, across, downwards, now leading through change.
This is where transformational leadership comes in.
Big topic.
It's about having that vision, the strength, the determination to guide your organization through those times of disruption, uncertainty, which, let's face it, are inevitable.
It's not about keeping things the same. It's about anticipating the future, shaping it.
And Carla identifies some key traits of a transformational leader. Thoughtfulness, first and foremost.
Strategic thinking, doing your research, having a clear picture of where you want the organization to go.
She uses the example of IBM. They've gone through so many transformations, hardware to services to software.
They had to adapt, stay ahead of the game.
Anticipate those trends, make those big decisions before you're forced to.
So thoughtfulness. What else? What's the next key quality?
Courage. You've got to have the courage to challenge those norms, make those tough decisions, push your organization out of its comfort zone.
She talks about disruptive thinking, right?
It's not just tweaking things, it's reimagining how things are done.
Like Amazon, Yelp. They revolutionized their industries, created new behaviors, new expectations.
Think about how Amazon changed retail. It wasn't just about selling online, it was faster shipping, huge selection, a seamless experience.
And Yelp changed how we choose restaurants, businesses.
User-generated reviews, the power of social proof, transparency, accountability, a whole new standard for the service industry.
Great examples. But it's not enough to just have the ideas. You need the courage to execute them.
Which brings us to the third quality, tenacity.
Persistence. Overcoming those obstacles. Staying focused on the long game, even when it's tough.
Adapting, pivoting, keeping moving forward. Even when there are setbacks, resistance.
She talks about maintaining that sense of urgency, creating momentum.
And rallying people around your vision, because transformational change doesn't happen in a vacuum.
You need a team.
You need to build support, generate enthusiasm for that journey.
She also stresses visibility, being present during those times of change, especially when there's uncertainty, anxiety.
It's where transparency comes back in. Open, communicating, sharing information, even when it's not perfect.
She talks about President Bush after 9/11, leaders in New York during the pandemic.
In both cases, those leaders understood. They needed to be there, communicate frequently.
Even when they didn't have all the answers.
It's about projecting calm, assurance, even when you don't know what's going to happen next.
So important. Okay, transparency, visibility, crucial for leading through change. But what about decisiveness?
You have to be able to make decisions, even when you don't have all the information.
Trust in your gut.
Taking those calculated risks.
Being willing to adjust course.
She talks about CBS firing Don Imus and Charlie Rose.
Those are tough calls.
Tough, but quick. Decisive.
Damage control, protecting the company's reputation. Sometimes doing nothing is worse than making the wrong move.
Exactly. Weigh the risks, the rewards, make the call, and own the outcome.
She also mentions getting advice. But ultimately, the decision rests with the leader.
It's your responsibility. Gather the information, consider different viewpoints, but trust yourself.
And don't let fear hold you back.
Carla puts it plainly. Fear has no place in your success equation.
Okay, so we've got the qualities of a transformational leader: thoughtfulness, courage, tenacity, transparency, visibility, decisiveness. Anything else Carla highlights when it comes to leading through change?
She's a big believer in embracing failure as a learning experience,
Interest?
creating a culture where people feel safe to experiment, to take those risks.
Learning from their mistakes without the fear of punishment or shame.
Exactly. That's essential, especially now. Things change so fast, we can't be afraid to make mistakes.
We need to change how we think about failure.
It's a necessary step towards success.
She even suggests leaders encourage their teams to fail fast, learn from those experiences.
It's continuous improvement. Sometimes the best lessons come from things that didn't go as planned.
I think we're getting a really clear picture of what it takes to be a great leader now. Before we wrap things up, there's one more thing I want to touch on.
What's that?
Owning your blind spots.
Ah, yes. So important.
We all have them, right? Areas where we're not as self-aware or as objective as we could be.
As leaders, we have to see those blind spots and actively address them.
She gives some great advice on how to do that.
She does. First, ask for feedback from people who will be honest with you.
What could I do differently to be a better leader?
Yes. And be open to that feedback, even if it's not what you want to hear.
She also talks about self-reflection, taking time to really think about your behaviors, those patterns that might be holding you back.
Asking yourself those tough questions. What are my strengths, my weaknesses? What triggers me? How do I usually react to things?
It's knowing yourself, the good, the bad, and being willing to work on those areas where you can grow.
And it's an ongoing process. It never ends. Leadership isn't a finish line. It's a journey, always evolving, becoming the best version of yourself.
I love that. It's that growth mindset. We all have the potential to learn to grow, no matter where we are on our leadership journey.
That's the beauty of Lead to Win. It's so empowering.
We've talked about so much: transformational leadership, the need for transparency, visibility, decisiveness, the power of embracing failure, owning our blind spots. Anything else you want to highlight?
One thing that really stood out to me was how Carla weaves her personal stories into the book. It makes her advice so much more relatable.
Like when she talks about her struggles with letting go of underperforming team members, it was so hard for her because of her cultural background.
Or that time she took a big risk early in her career with that naked short strategy.
Those stories make the book more engaging, but they also show that even someone as successful as Carla Harris, she's faced challenges, she's made mistakes.
It makes her human, makes her advice even more powerful.
Exactly. We're all in this together, learning and growing as we go.
That's what makes leadership so exciting and rewarding.
We've only just scratched the surface of all the wisdom and insight in Lead to Win.
There's so much more to explore, but hopefully we've given our listeners a good overview of Carla's key ideas, inspired them to continue their own leadership journeys.
Definitely. Before we move on to part 3, what do you think is the most important thing for our listeners to remember? What's Carla's main message for leaders today?
I think it's a message of empowerment. She truly believes that anyone can be a great leader. Doesn't matter where you come from, what you've experienced.
It's about knowing what you're capable of and being willing to step up.
Exactly. Embrace the challenges, embrace the opportunities that come with leadership in the 21st century.
Love that. Before we wrap up this part, I want to leave our listeners with something to think about.
Okay, I'm listening.
As you think about all the things we've talked about, ask yourself, what's one small thing you can do today to be a better, more impactful leader?
That's a great question. It doesn't have to be some huge change.
Right? Maybe it's reaching out to someone in your network, offering help, asking a colleague for feedback, or just taking a few minutes to think about your strengths as a leader and areas where you can grow.
Every journey starts with a single step.
Well said. That wraps up part 2 of our deep dive into Carla Harris's Lead to Win. We'll be back soon for part 3, where we'll explore even more of her incredible insights and advice.
All right, back for more of Lead to Win. Seriously, this book has so much to unpack.
I know, right? One thing that stood out to me was building a culture of innovation.
Essential these days, not just to survive, to thrive.
Mm.
Carla's point is leaders have to create an environment where creativity, experimentation, even those smart risks we talked about, they're not just allowed, they're encouraged.
Those companies that didn't make it,
Hmm.
Polaroid, Blockbuster, Kodak, they were so afraid to change, missed the boat completely.
It's a total mindset shift. You don't fear failure, you see it as a chance to learn.
She uses that term, fail fast.
Try things out, knowing not every idea will be a winner, but you use those missteps to get better.
So create a safe space for ideas, even the crazy ones.
Exactly. Open dialogue, collaboration, break down those silos, get people brainstorming across different teams.
Because innovation doesn't just happen by accident. You have to create the right conditions.
Exactly. Like Amazon and Yelp, remember? They encourage innovation. Their employees are empowered to push boundaries.
It's that growth mindset again.
Individually, collectively, the status quo isn't good enough. There's always a way to do things better.
Okay, so building on innovation, what about partnerships? Collaboration.
Oh, huge. In today's world, it's rare to succeed alone. Carla's big on strategic alliances, leveraging everyone's strengths to reach a common goal.
That story about Sheila, the COO, she was a master at building relationships, inside and outside the company.
That's right. Getting involved with startups, those accelerators, ended up benefiting her whole organization.
Led to a successful acquisition. New perspectives.
Collaboration done right, it's a win-win.
Expands opportunities for everyone.
And partnerships, they can take different forms. Formal ventures, informal collaborations, mentoring.
It's about being open to possibilities, finding those synergies.
The key is, no matter what form the partnership takes, trust is essential. Clear expectations from the start.
Transparency, communication, respect. The foundation for anything successful.
And those partnerships, they need attention. It's an investment. You're working together towards those shared goals.
Wow, we've covered so much ground today. The changing world of leadership, authenticity, trust, clarity, developing other leaders, DEI, risk-taking, talent assessment, fostering innovation, the power of partnerships. This book, Lead to Win, it's a goldmine.
I know, right? It's been a fantastic deep dive. The biggest takeaway for me is this. Leadership isn't about power, it's about inspiration, helping others reach their full potential.
It's about serving others, not yourself.
Exactly. It's about leaving the world better than you found it.
I love that. Okay, before we officially wrap up, let's give our listeners a quick recap. 10 key takeaways from Carla Harris.
Okay, let's do it.
Number 1, be authentic. No one trusts a fake. Number 2, build trust. Be transparent, reliable, and supportive.
Number 3, be clear. Communicate your vision, your expectations, even when things are uncertain. Number 4, develop other leaders. Don't hold all the knowledge and power for yourself.
Number 5, embrace DEI. Different perspectives make for better decisions. Number 6, take risks, but be smart about it. Don't let fear hold you back.
Number 7, assess talent strategically. Look for potential, people who align with your vision. Number 8, build a culture of innovation. Encourage people to try things and don't punish failure. See it as an opportunity to learn.
Number 9, seek out partnerships. Collaborate. Working together achieves more than going it alone. And lastly, number 10, know your blind spots. Actively seek feedback. Always strive to improve.
10 amazing principles for anyone who wants to be a better leader.
And remember, it's a journey. Always learning, growing, trying to make a difference. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into Carla Harris's Lead to Win. We'll see you next time.